You can make a lot of money investing in Lego sets, holding them for a couple of years, and then selling them when they become rare. That is the baseline of this YouTube channel, and this is what we teach here on the channel. But one of the questions that we get a lot is, how much do I need to invest in tools, equipment, software? What's the startup costs of a Lego investing business? Do I need to buy a load of things in order to get started in this? Or, can I just buy some Lego sets and put them on a shelf, right? So we're going to talk about that in this video. The short answer is no, you don't need to buy loads of fancy equipment to get started investing in Lego. You just need to buy a few sets, put them on a shelf in a spare room or in the basement, and just let them grow in value over time. Now, that's the short answer. But to some of you, you may want to take this a little bit more seriously. Maybe you're thinking that this is going to be a viable business for you over time, and you want to improve your efficiencies, you want to improve your processes, you want to simplify things so that maybe you can do things a little bit faster when it comes to shipping out orders. And there's some tools and software and things out there that you might be able to get that can actually improve your business, right? And you see the value of investing in yourself and your business up front, so that over the years those investments will start to pay off and pay you dividends. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 different things that I think are worth spending money on upfront if you really want to take Lego investing seriously. These are things that I personally have used in my business that I think were beneficial, and there's obviously a lot more than 5 things that you can invest in, but these are some things that I personally find important. So let's jump in. And number 1 here that I think was very, very helpful to me, and this is not just for Lego investing, but for any sort of online reselling or e-commerce, and that is a thermal label printer. So a thermal label printer is essentially a small printer that you can get them in various different sizes, like small labels or larger shipping labels, but it's essentially a printer that uses heat instead of ink or toner to print out things, right? And you can use it to print labels very cost efficiently, so you don't need to replace cartridges of ink in your printer. You can ship thousands and thousands of orders by printing out labels using a thermal printer, and it's very, very cost effective. It's also extremely fast and compatible with a lot of the selling platforms that you might be using. So if you try to ship out an item from Amazon or from eBay or from Etsy or from a lot of the other platforms out there, they will most likely have some compatibility with the popular thermal label printers out there. And so you can then print out your shipping label directly through your thermal printer. It will print out quickly on labels that you can just peel off, stick straight onto the package, so there's no taping paper to the package, and you can send it out. So a thermal printer, I think, and printing directly onto labels instead of onto paper is a huge time saver when it comes time to selling your Lego sets. And during a busy Q4, when you're up late and you're boxing stuff up and you've got a lot of orders, a thermal label printer can be your absolute best friend. It is one of my favorite investments that I've ever made in my e-commerce and reselling journey, and I think I would definitely recommend to pick one of those up if you really want to take this seriously. Now, some good brands that I've tried include Dymo and Rollo. Rollo is my favorite one. I will include a link to that down in the description below. It's usually around 180 bucks or something in that range, but it's totally worth the money in my experience if you definitely plan on taking e-commerce seriously and selling stuff online for the long haul. Okay, so number 2 that I think is important for your Lego reselling business when it comes to investments and things that you can buy up front is good storage solutions. Now, I say good storage solutions a little bit broadly because that involves different things for different people, right? I'm not going to say you should invest in shelving if your storage setup doesn't cater well to shelving. And likewise, I won't say invest in cardboard boxes if your storage maybe is in a place that's a little bit too cold or not as climate controlled, and cardboard is not the best solution. Maybe you need something that's a bit more insulated. So the storage solution that you go with will vary from person to person based on your own circumstances. But some examples of things that you can invest in include large tote bins. We have some people in our VIP group that talk a lot about the way that they use extremely large 45 or 50 gallon tote bins to store their Lego sets, and that can be very, very viable and efficient, because you can stack them, and you can stack them floor to ceiling, and it'll protect the sets within. It also protects from moisture, so if you had a leak or something like that, the plastic tote bins can often help to protect the contents within. So that's a very safe way to store your Lego sets. But again, you do need to invest money up front in those bins in order to build up that sort of storage solution over time. Another option could be shelving. Some people love shelving. I personally use some shelving, and I also use some bins, and I also use some boxes for different things based on where I'm putting things, what's going into them. And shelving can be great. Shelving is good for larger sets, I find, and I kind of use them mostly for stuff that I'm still actively buying. So when something is retired and I know I'm storing it away for some time, that's when I will move it into a more longer term hold type storage solution like a box or a bin. But when I'm still actively buying things and I don't want to be opening bins and stuff like that to put them in, I'll throw them on a shelf. So my shelving is like my temporary storage, essentially. That's the way I kind of look at it. But I know of other people that use shelving long term, and it's a great storage solution as well. It can be expensive to fit out a room with shelving, but the good thing about Lego is that it's not too heavy, right? So you can actually get plastic shelving, and usually that will more than cover what you need it to do. Other things you can invest in when it comes to storage, obviously, is a storage unit or a location. If you live somewhere where you can't store everything in your house, or you don't have a big basement or a spare room to put all your investments into, then you may need to rent a storage unit. And we know a lot of people in our groups that do this very effectively. Often you can get storage units for a pretty cost-effective price, and you can also get them climate controlled, and you can also get insurance at a really good price as well in storage units. So that can be it can be a costly monthly bill that you have to pay as part of your Lego investing journey. But when you get to that point where you have a lot of sets and you need somewhere to put them, a storage unit can definitely be a great investment to make. So when it comes to storage overall, I definitely recommend, don't skimp on it. Don't be afraid to spend a little bit in this area, because storing your stuff safely and efficiently and effectively is very, very important. It'll save you money over time, because it'll make sure that your stuff is protected. You don't end up with damaged sets because you're moving them around too much, or they get, some moisture damage or anything like that could happen. You also will use your space effectively if you think, strategically about the things that you're buying when it comes to your storage solutions. So if you're just using different size of boxes and reusing, random boxes you have lying around the house for your storage, you're unlikely to use your space effectively. Whereas if you actually invest in specific solutions, you will think more carefully about how you're using your space, and that will also save you money in terms of storage space over time. So I definitely recommend investing in storage. It will be different from one person to the next in terms of what that means for you, but it is an area that's worth putting some money into. It is one of the few investments that we need to make in this business that is definitely worthwhile and a necessity. Okay, so number 3 on our list of things that are important to invest in for your Lego investing and reselling business is good shipping supplies. Now, this one, a lot of people have different opinions on this, and a lot of people will try to reduce their costs and cut costs and really skimp on shipping supplies. Now, I fully agree with trying to find ways of reducing cost for your shipping supplies, but not at the expense of quality. Quality shipping supplies is crucially important for a reselling business. I can tell you this with experience. I've tried every different type of tape that's out there, for example, and I came right back to the expensive, heavy-duty stuff because, it's just the only way that I can be sure that the packages are going to get to the customer without any problems. And, the cheaper tape is just not worth the savings in the long term. In my business, we actually use wet tape, which is the kind of stuff that you see on your Amazon and Walmart packages when they show up, and or gummed tape, it's also known as. And now, I don't recommend that in the very beginning because you do need to kind of buy a dispenser, and it's a little bit more of an investment to get wet tape for your reselling business. But just some good heavy-duty tape and a good tape dispenser to speed up how quickly you can seal a box, definitely a worthwhile investment up front. don't avoid spending a little bit when it comes to the tape, because at the end of the day, the box arriving to a customer without any damage, it's crucial. Now, aside from tape, you've also got boxes, right? And boxes is an area that I definitely recommend investing in, but for a different reason. It's not only about quality with boxes, it's also much about efficiency and speed. I definitely reuse boxes, and I think, as long as if a package shows up here and the box is still structurally intact and there's no major damage, I have no problem with reusing that. I think that, it's good to do that. But at the same time, it does slow down things a little bit if you're just trying to do that all the time, right? If you're using different size of boxes and, you don't have a real system in place. If you're trying to ship out 100 Lego Architecture New York Skyline sets, and you're trying to use different size of boxes, and some of the boxes are too big, so you have to cut them down a little bit, or you have to put in extra bubble wrap or air pillows to make up the space. It's just not very efficient. Now, what's a much better approach is for those 100 New York Architecture Skyline sets, you have a perfect box at the ready that fits that set, right? You've already invested in the exact box that you need to fit that set and other similar architecture sets that you might have in your inventory. So I'm not saying you should invest in a different box size for all of the different Lego sets that you might sell, because obviously Lego sets come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, but you should have a couple of different categories in mind of different box sizes that you can use, and then invest in them, right? Get multiples of the same box, because it'll hugely speed up your processes. You can just seal up a number of boxes one after the other without worrying about cutting boxes down and all of those headaches that come with it. So when it comes to reusing boxes or trying to find free boxes from a local store or something like that, just like, it is worth doing to an extent. But if you really want to grow your business and double down, then investing in quality boxes at scale is a worthwhile way to spend some money, and it will speed things up for you in the long term. Now, other things when it comes to shipping supplies that are worth investing in, depending on where you are in your journey, if you're going to have a lot of orders, an air pillow machine can definitely be worthwhile. Now, most people will just save the air pillows that come in the sets that you order if you do a lot of online arbitrage. Every Amazon order or Walmart order or Target order is going to be filled with air pillows, and you can just save those in a plastic bag and then reuse them, when you're shipping your own sets. And that is a good way to go as well. Obviously recycling materials is good, but at the same time, depends on how much volume you're selling, right? And you might not have everything that you need, and then you're like during Q4 when you're trying to ship out a lot of sets, you find that you're scrambling to try and find ways to fill the empty space inside your boxes. And so an air pillow machine could be a good investment. I personally think it's definitely worthwhile. I'll include a link in the description below for an air pillow machine that I think is good, and also I'll include a link to some boxes that both Jim and I use, and the tape that I use as well, just in case you find that helpful. Number 4 in the things that I think are very, very important to invest in for your Lego reselling business is a good cart. Right, so when you're lifting a lot of boxes and you're moving boxes around, you're rearranging your storage, it can be a lot of backbreaking work to lift this stuff up and move it around all the time. So depending on what your work setup looks like and the storage area that you're working in, getting a good cart where you can, that has kind of sturdy wheels and it can sustain the weight of multiple boxes stacked up on top of each other, can be a fantastic way to quickly move your stuff around and rearrange your room. And if you're taking in a lot of online arbitrage orders, right, so you have boxes and boxes showing up at your front door from all of the places that you're ordering Lego from, if you have a cart, you can just throw the stuff on or throw it into, you can quickly move it to your storage area and then unload it there. It will definitely pay for itself in time. If you can save yourself from having to take 2 boxes, bring them to your storage area, unload them, go back to your front door wherever the boxes were left by the mailman, take another two, bring them to your storage area. If you can use a cart to just load it up, bring it all there, unload it exactly into the areas that you want the stuff stored in, it can save a lot of time, it can save a lot of effort, and it can be great for saving your back in the long term. So for any reselling business, I think getting a good cart or two, definitely a worthwhile investment. Again, I'll put a link below for one of the carts that I use. I use a number of different carts in my business actually, but there is one particular type of cart that I think is amazing, and I recently bought 2 more of them. I'll put that link below for you to check out. Okay, so number 5, and this is the last one. There's obviously a lot of other things that you can invest in to grow your Lego reselling and investing business, but number 5 here that I think is super important to think about is good software and tools. Now, in Lego investing, there's not a whole lot of software out there that we really need to pay attention to. In other types of reselling, you might be worried about things like repricers or automated repricing tools that will change your price to keep you competitive and various different things like that. In Lego investing, we don't need to use a lot of those things because the market will catch up to our price over time. And so, we don't need fancy repricers. We often don't need fancy listing software either because, we only have a handful of SKUs that we're listing most of the time and then multiple quantities of those SKUs. So we don't need to spend big on listing software or repricing software. But there are a couple of software tools that I think are useful. One of them we made a video about in the past, and that's called the FBA multi-tool. And I think this is just an amazing tool. It's essentially a plugin that goes right on your Amazon.com, and when you're looking at Lego sets on Amazon, it shows you how much the set is selling. So it kind of shows you the demand for the set, and it also shows you things like the supply, right? How many resellers are on that listing and whether that's changing over time. There's also a profitability calculator in there. It's just a fantastic tool, and I use it all the time for my Lego investing buying choices and sourcing choices. So that's one piece of software that I think is definitely worth the investment. It's an amazing tool. We do have a coupon code for the FBA multi-tool for BrickBucks members. I'll include that in a link in the description below as well. If you want to sign up there, you should get 10% off by clicking that link. Now, if you don't want to get the FBA multi-tool, there's also Keepa, which is another option that you could look at. Keepa is similar to the FBA multi-tool in that it's a Chrome plugin that loads right on your Amazon listing page, and it shows you things like the price changes over time on Lego sets, the sales over time, and things like that. Very, very powerful stuff to help you in making your buying decisions. So that's another tool you could consider. And then the last thing I would say about software and tools is to invest in the platform that you're selling on. Now, if you're selling on Amazon, you should definitely pay for a Amazon professional seller account. That's $40 a month, and it lets you list unlimited items. Now, you should only do that when you know you're going to be starting to sell your stuff, right? So for when you're starting out your Lego investing business, you don't need to do that. And also only if you're going to get ungated on Amazon when it comes to Lego investing. But eBay as well. If you're an eBay seller, you should invest in a store. Depending on the number of SKUs that you're going to sell, but a store can be very, very good at saving you money because you don't have to pay your insertion fees, right? To list stuff, you don't have to pay those fees every time. So calculate out the amount of listings you're going to be making. But if you're going to be taking this seriously, you should definitely invest in an eBay store, and you'll get a lot of different benefits and perks from that, and over time you should save a lot of money. So that's another area that I think is worth not skimping on, and investing in as soon as you get to that point where you're ready to start selling. So that's it. That was 5 different areas that I personally have found useful to invest a little bit of money into when it comes to growing my Lego investing business. I think that the improved efficiencies and speed that you gain from buying some of these things is definitely worth the cost of the investment, and also the improved quality when it comes to things like shipping supplies and good storage. It's definitely worth putting a little bit of money into up front and saving yourself the headaches over time. It is important with any business to just understand, the investing in your business is a necessity, and if you really want to take it seriously, you need to be ready to do that. So that's it. I will put a link in the description for all of the different things that we talked about here. Hopefully you find that helpful. They will be affiliate links, so if you click them, it will help us with the channel. It'll support us a little bit, so I appreciate that ahead of time. So thank you so much for watching. Please do, click that like button, because it definitely helps us a lot to show the video to new people, and we really appreciate that also. Once again, I'm Shane from brickbooks.net, and I'll see you in the next one.